Questi americani va bene lo stesso, eh?
Un bambino, io ritorno con una cugina.
Nummer 39 ab, 10:20. Beach, Budapest.
Quanti libri si possono portare a bordo?
Libro o chili?
Come? Reggio della...
13 anni, eh? Molto tempo.
Au revoir, bon voyage.
Attention please, Alitalia after the departure of flight 667, DC-8 Superjet to Milan and Rome. Passengers are kindly requested to proceed to gate number 39. Attention s'il vous plaît, Alitalia annonce le départ du vol 667.
At the last minute, he feels a twinge of doubt. Is the visit really necessary? Is he being selfish? It's going to cost so much. There could be a new refrigerator with this money, another payment on the house. Goodbye to Angela, his wife. Goodbye to Maria, his daughter.
Bye.
13 years ago, Francesco Yamundo left Italy for Canada. A new life. Now they call him Frank Yamundo. He has done well, but he's not rich, far from it. But the visit is important. To see a father and mother, yes. But something else, too. To find some answer to questions that won't go away. Why is he going? It's hard to explain to a stranger. Only an Italian immigrant really knows. Now Rome is behind him, the prosperous industrial north. On southward, toward Calabria, where he was born. An ancient region, toe of the Italian boot. The sea, the sky, the olive groves. How different this Tuesday morning in Calabria and a Tuesday morning in Toronto. At the bakery, he's an oven operator, a foreman responsible for 4 other men. It's hard work and he's often on the night shift. But he can average $5,400 a year, an unheard of amount for a man doing the same kind of work in Calabria. Lunch in Toronto is just a hurried break. How often Frank has yearned for the slower ways of southern Italy, with time for a glass of wine and conversation. She was an hour early, waiting for the train. Natalina Teresa, Frank's mother. And here is his sister, Mariana. And Giovanni Zuccalla, a cousin. The voices and faces he has missed so much these 13 years. Can it really be 13 years? So long ago. And now, the street where the family lives. There was a time when each and every face on the Via della Sirena was familiar to Frank. But now, some of them are only faintly familiar. Boys and girls have become young men and women. For everybody, the traveler has brought a small gift from Canada. To start with, a carton of cigarettes for Frank's father, Arcangelo, and some money. For his sister Mariana, Frank has brought a length of cloth to make a dress, and there is another one for his mother. Gifts that seem large indeed in a Calabrian village. A very old village, Cinquefrondi. There was Greek civilization in this region before Christ. Then Roman legions, Christian monasteries, Normans, Swabians, Spaniards. There was always culture and riches, but only for a very few. For most, poverty and toil that brings old age too soon. Old women work as long as they can, doing whatever they can. Respite comes only with illness or death. Younger women arise with the sun and go to the fields. At dusk, they go home to cook for their husbands, care for their children. Has it changed in 13 years? Surely it must have. The whole world is changing so quickly. On the first morning, Frank Iamundo is up at 6 to find out. The visit is starting. The visit that every immigrant feels he must make. To make sure. In 13 years in Toronto, there have been so many longings for Cinquefrondi. Was it right to leave? Giuseppe, I am a baker too now in Canada. But would Giuseppe believe it if he told him about Toronto? 9,000 loaves an hour, all done with machines. Would Giuseppe believe this?
Non ci riuscivo, i forni allora fecero un'altra. E là non si può fare perché la compagnia che lavoro io, sì, noi siamo...
Old streets, familiar, but too familiar. Not enough change, or not the right kind of change. He wanted to find Cinquefrondi as it used to be, but better. TV and bubblegum machines had nothing to do with it.
Oh, Franco, come stai? Bene, bene, come si va, signor Neri? Molto bene, molto bene.
Lavorano?
Sì, sì.
I saluti stanno bene anche?
Molto bene.
How is everybody in Canada? That's the most frequent question, for Frank is not the only one who has left Cinquefrondi for Toronto. And they ask, should I come? You must have saved a few million by now. Could I do the same? By million, of course, they mean lira, 600 to the dollar. But still, a fortune here in the village. They keep telling Frank how hard it is here, how you can't save a cent. The struggle is simply to get by. Frank knew this, of course he knew it. He had read it many times in Toronto, in letters from relatives. But he had to see for himself.
Perché in Italia come minimo si lavora 12-14 ore. Come no?
That's the purpose of the visit, to clear up confusion, even after 13 years. Is home here in Cinquefrondi or back there in Canada? In Toronto, he has a car. But is it home? Money and a better life isn't all there is to it. And yet there's quite a lot of Italy in the streets around College and Grace. In Toronto, they call it Little Italy. It wasn't easy for Frank getting started here. He came over alone, had to work 2.5 years to save enough to send for his wife and children. First as a laborer, then 8 years ago, the job at the ente bakery. A good job, and before long there was enough money for a down payment on the house on Ossington Avenue. He rents the upstairs floor, but he still has 5 rooms for his family. In Cinquefrondi, he would have 2 rooms at most. And here he has a basement, too, where he can make wine. It's one of the old traditions from home that Frank and other Italians try to keep alive in Canada.
I like it. Really?
Non cacciamo sangue cubato. The wine makes the blood. In the meantime, you got your own blood then. What's the matter with you? Come on, Frank. All right.
The grapes are pressed every fall, and a neighbor always comes to help. The neighbor, the brother-in-law. In the Italian community, everybody helps when there's a job to be done around the house, like carpentry, or laying tiles, or finishing a basement. There's no money to spend on professionals. Big families, lots of friends. And their greatest delight is to gather together as often as they can. They are from Cinquefrondi, all of them. It was Frank's aunt, Teresa, who was here first. She made it possible for him to come over later, lending him half the fare. Since then, Frank has helped 25 others from the village to immigrate. Their strength is in their closeness. To keep the old ways alive. There is a determination to do this, but the influences of the new world can't be shut out altogether. Young people growing up in Canada want to be like other Canadians. There is conflict here between the 2 generations, but the parents still have the stronger voice. If girls want to dance, they have to dance at home. They aren't allowed to go out on dates, not in southern Italy, and not here. Venice, so remote for most of the people of Cinquefrondi that it might be in another country. The luxury of going there far to the north is something few can afford. But now, Frank Yamundo is at last seeing the famous palaces and canals because of the visit. Because he has come back to Italy with enough money in his pocket to become a tourist in his own native land.
Until the end of the tour this morning, please take always seats on bus number 1. On your left, the first Roman emperor, Augustus Caesar, died the year 14 AD. We are always on our way to the Pantheon.
The glory of Venice, the splendor of Rome. Strangely enough, Frank Yamundo might never have seen them if he had not gone to Canada first.
The Pantheon is the most beautiful pagan temple that we have in Rome, in very good state of preservation. Bramante, Raphael, Michelangelo, Bernini. A medal or rosary for you or for your Catholic friends. Please notice nothing for sale already blessed by the Pope. In case you want to get a medal or rosary and you want it blessed by the Pope, you must leave it here. Put it in one envelope. Write on the envelope your name, your hotel, your room number, and this afternoon you will have it back to the hotel blessed by the Pope.
But Cinquefrondi is so different from busy, industrial northern Italy. If tourists bothered to come here, they would find it picturesque. But to Frank, it is discouraging. Giovanni the chairmaker, Luigi the shoemaker, nothing is happening to them. Before he came, a friend in Toronto told Frank that the visit would be a cure. Only this strong medicine would once and for all banish the recurrent ache of homesickness. Frank would know for sure where he belonged. The friend seems to have been right, and as Frank visits his sister, he finds more confirmation. Why, for instance, should his mother not even have a stove of her own and have to come to his sister's house to do her daily cooking? Concetta's husband is already in Canada, and soon she will join him. Until then, he sends her a monthly remittance. All over southern Italy, these checks and dollar bills from abroad, from husbands and sons, are an important part of the economy. Hundreds of millions of dollars every year to help eke out meager earnings, to pay debts, to save for emigration. But in Cinquefrondi, even those who get money from abroad have to watch every cent. In the grocery stores, every tin and every package seems like a small treasure. The scale is a stern judge whose verdict is fair, but always seems harsh. Shoppers have to think in terms of skimpy fraction. Michela, the grocer's son, will soon emigrate to Canada, for the store is simply too small to support the grocer's large family. Frank has a lot to tell the young emigrant: how to find a job, what wages to expect, how much it will cost to live. And it will be important for Michela to learn some English as soon as possible.
Se vi preparate qualche po' di inglese, la vita si rende più facile. Buongiorno, noi diciamo, lì si dice good morning, come stai, si dice how are you.
In his talk with Michela, Frank tells him to be prepared for a very different kind of life, for a much faster pace. But even here, despite all the abundance on display, economy is still the watchword for immigrants. When they shop, Frank and his wife carefully compare prices and always hunt for bargains, discounts, premiums. At first, the supermarkets are strange and hectic for the immigrant, but he soon learns. And he even learns to feel at home in such unlikely institutions as banks. Banks, mortgages, insurance, things to concern only the rich in Cinquefrondi. In the Italian community, the unfamiliar blends with the familiar, and even the newest immigrant is never entirely lost.
Guarda che luna, guarda che mare, da questa notte senza te voglio restare. Folle d'amore, vorrei morire, mentre la luna di lassù ci sta a guardare. Resta soltanto tutto rimpianto, perché ho peccato nel desiderarti tanto. Ora son solo a ricordare e vorrei poterti dire: guarda che luna, guarda che mare. Resta soltanto tutto rimpianto, perché ho peccato nel desiderarti tanto. Ora son solo a ricordare e vorrei poterti dire: guarda che luna, guarda che mare, guarda che luna, guarda che mare.
Entertainment in Toronto. More sophisticated perhaps, but with the same spirit that Frank finds at the party given for him in Cinquefrondi a few days before leaving. visit is almost over. In 2 days, Frank will be gone. Will he ever stroll again in the olive groves with his father? What an old man his father has already become at 58. A lifetime of punishingly hard work has done it.
Se c'è la pianta c'è la protezione da dare, il lavoro c'è. Se no quando non c'è la protezione qui non si può fare.
A lifetime of work on other men's land, gathering other men's crops, and so little to show for it. The beach is close to the town, and the family gathers for a picnic. It is Sunday, Frank's last day here. One last day by the sea, a sad day in the sunshine. What will happen here in the years to come? What will happen to Frank's father, now a sick man who can only work a day or two a week? Should Frank bring his parents to live in Toronto? It'll be some time before he has money enough for that. Cinquefrondi. When will Frank see it again? Ever? It took him 13 years to make this visit. Perhaps he will come back with his wife in old age. It would be nice to come here then. One last day by the sea. The sun, the warm breeze, the family. Memories for the years ahead. The visit is over. Was it worthwhile? For Frankie Yamundo, yes. He has strengthened his resolve, quietened his doubts about the new life he chose 13 years ago. He knows where he belongs now, although some part of him will always remain in Italy.